we're going to do water and sewer and tourism, and then depending on the amount of time, we have a number of budget categories that are dedicated funds, like the cemetery and the band, and so we can talk about them, but really they're not very discretionary in terms of our decision making. And we're going to cover as many of those as we can get in this time before time runs out. And then we need to schedule a special meeting to handle the last budget and any remaining items. And so now would be a good time to talk about what day you want to do that.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
We still won't have a meeting for 2 weeks after that.
Yeah,
Right?
you're right.
Next Thursday is
Will that work for everyone next Thursday?
31st.
I will probably not be here.
I believe I will be unavailable.
Just fine without me.
Yeah, I think I have March and May.
Whatever. Right, yeah, next Thursday. I'll be out of town.
What about the first Thursday? Or is it the first Thursday?
No, last Thursday.
Last Thursday? Then what about the first Thursday?
That'll be the 7th.
First Thursday is planning and zoning if they have anything.
How about Wednesday?
That work?
I will never have marching band on Wednesday, so that wouldn't be a conflict for me.
Hey, you're newly elected here, you gotta show up.
Wednesday the 30th or
My
Wednesday
paycheck
the
from over there is
1st?
a little bigger than my paycheck from here.
The 6th.
The 30th, I thought. It doesn't make any difference.
Next Wednesday.
I'm pretty well off.
What date is that?
30th.
Can't be fair.
Let me check the calendar. No, I'm off. How many people in the marching band this year?
About 70.
They're good. I think Valley's got about 8, don't they? For what? There's nobody in that.
They're all playing football, except for girls.
Many in classes, so they have to bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to meet at night either.
What time do they
See
meet?
my
Planning and zoning?
Tony now left.
7?
We could meet
Could we meet
in
at
the
5?
afternoon. What's the earliest availability? You get here by 3:30 usually.
Yep.
I can be here by
Try and 4 o'clock meeting?
I'd have to, I left my phone at home, and it's got my complete calendar and everything in it, so I'm kind of...
You wanna use mine?
I'm kind of worried. Do we have the same schedule? I wish we did.
I might not make it any earlier than 5, because I still got one bus that I should be in by now.
All right, again, it's
Can we
your
send out-
decision.
Can we send out an email and try to nail it down through email, and I can
Sure.
look at my calendar better?
All right, we'll do that. Okay, Steve, water and sewer is, the funds come from the water fees and the sewer fees, and it can't be used for any purpose other than water and sewer. But that doesn't mean you have discretion in terms of priority spending. We employ Alliance and expect their expertise to be brought to bear on the issues and to advise us, and Steve does that through formulating his budget. Again, you can move money around within water and sewer if you want to, but we can't take it out and use it for anything else. So Steve, why don't you talk about how you structured this budget, and more than anything, illustrate or explain what's different, unique about what you're proposing for the coming year.
All right. As you see on the sheet in front of you guys,
What are you doing, water or sewer?
we'll do water first. Doing the sheet kind of explains the capital improvements and different things that'll happen over the year as far as the water side. The first item on the list is the engineering for the in-road crossing for right up there by road. Some of you may remember where we had that big water leak last winter. MoDOT's still saying I have to put in a water line underneath the road inside a casing. So there is no casing under there. It involves an engineered shutdown of the intersection being this MoDOT right away. We'll have to get
Do we
over
have to tear that road up again, or can we?
it. No, it'll
We
have to.
can't bore it? Can
It'll
we
be
bore
open
it?
cut.
Well, it's
Okay.
not fixed right anyway.
No, that's a temporary repair that's on
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
MoDOT still expects it to be
Okay.
repaired.
Where's that line surface?
That line goes from the Plaza Ford now. That connects water line across the road to roads in the Dunsey Trailer Court area.
What size?
It's a 4-inch. So that money there is for the engineering, so we know what we're up against on that. The next one is purchase.
And that's in infrastructure.
Yes. The next one would be purchase and installation of a crane system at the water treatment plant. If anyone's been to the water treatment plant, you'll notice all the motors and stuff are down in the lower level of the plant. We currently have to use a backhoe in a very tricky situation to get them out.
I actually learned to respect Bruce Bova's backhoe operating skills by watching that operation occur. He had that backhoe tilted and turned, and got the bucket in, and and pulling it out. It was like pulling that motor out of the eye of a needle. It was just I just said, holy cow, that's not right.
When we perform that, the left side of the backhoe is literally off the ground, and you're just teeter-tottering balanced, hoping you get it up there each time. This would be a crane system that would allow us to remove the pumps and motors and set them up on level ground where we can get it out with a smaller piece of equipment.
I don't think that's a problem at all, because that's a safety issue also, so that needs to be done. Yeah.
We had discussed this prior years, haven't you? Because it seemed like you had
Yeah.
kind of requested this before. Is this mounted to the trusses, or?
It'll be a standalone system mounted on the floor. It will move 2 directions, and it will actually extend over the Claricone bypass pipe, and it'll allow us to move other pumps and equipment in and out of the basement as well.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
The next one will be the purchase of a vehicle for the water treatment plant staff. It doesn't have to be a new truck, by no means. The vehicle we have now is a 1993 Dodge Dakota.
Yeah.
It's pretty well broken down.
Used up.
Yeah, it really is.
That's Frank's old truck. Frank Arnold, I think.
But I should be able to get a plenty decent vehicle for the water plant for $15,000. The other one would be the purchase of a truck-mounted crane. That would be one mounted on the 1-ton truck for the wastewater treatment plant and the water plant use. That would also be used for picking up motors and pumps. Right now, we have to get the backhoe from the street department, and we have to pull the pumps with the backhoe, and then we have to hold the chain while we move the chain down. Most systems are using truck-mounted cranes. We've never had the option to have one at this point.
Yeah, that's hand crank, right, Steve?
No, it'd be hydraulic.
No, I would think it was.
The other one would be the purchase of a hydraulic breaker with the use of our mini excavator. Over the past couple of years, we've had to rent breakers, whether they're for the mini or the backhoe or they're hand breakers.
Have to open up the street.
Yes. The streets, they continue to get overlays on them. We've had leaks out in MoDOT right-of-ways. The leak out there on M Road that we have to finish repairing, that asphalt was 22 inches thick.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
So,
You might run into that concrete too in a lot of
yeah,
situations.
the more concrete we get, the more we're gonna need.
And if we got patches now, or most of them are concrete.
Yeah. So that would be the purpose for that. So. Are there any questions on the water?
So, are there any other major differences in the operating expenditures for water other than these capital purchases?
It looks like if you go at at what you're going, we're gonna end up with more water revenues than what we budgeted? If you, and is that why we end up with about a 9 or 10% increase over our budget this year for next year? Just going based on what you think this year's gonna end at?
The numbers that these are based on are the 8 and 9 month totals.
Right.
The ones we have here are 10-month totals, so yes, there is more revenue than what was projected.
So we possibly could end up with more revenue by the end of this year, and it looks like your expenses, I mean, we could end up with $100,000 more in revenue, but your expenses don't look like, and if you don't do that $85,000 in sludge, your expenses are going to be quite a bit down. Are you gonna do the $85,000 in sludge yet this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to wait till crops are out of the field so they can
Okay.
be land applied on the fields.
But this year you could end up with a gain versus, does it look that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
You come in.
remember,
under
one of
budget.
our goals, some of you were here when we did the pro forma for the rate schedule, was to build the reserves, and we haven't really, in the past several years, we haven't built quite as well as we had anticipated, but this is getting us back on track. So based on the revenue projections versus its proposed expenditures, we'll start making a more significant contribution to the reserve fund.
Yeah, the goal was to be at $1 million by 2019, and we're at 868.
Now, once we get there, it gives you lots of options, one of which you might consider a rate reduction.
Bottom line on the water, I did not exceed the expenditures with the revenue.
Is, I know you got Alliance in there, and it's hard, did you guess at what theirs is, or is that pretty accurate, what their increase is gonna be?
No, that's accurate.
Okay.
And we're still within the bounds of that contract extension.
That almost the very last line of the,
8750
$750.
on the last page.
oh yeah, $13,000 increase, something like that.
Which is less than the 3%.
No. I don't know. I've been here when we didn't have the lines, and man, we had a mess. I think you guys are doing a good job, a real good job.
Any other comments on the water budget?
On to the sewer side. Got it laid out pretty well the same way. The engineering for, first item, the engineering for a sewer line on Triangle Drive, 6th Street, and a screen for the wastewater treatment plant. There is a short section on South 6th Street which needs to be replaced. It's an old Orangeburg pipe and it's all deformed and we can't even maintain it. Our jetter won't fit up the line. So that one will need to be replaced. Triangle Drive, the lower section of that, there's a lot of offset joints and it catches on a lot of stuff and it's deteriorating and we'll have to fix that. The other one would be the screen for the wastewater treatment plant. Where the influent water comes in, there are, we call it debris, trash,
Racks.
anything people flush down the stool comes up there. There's never been anything more than a mechanical bar screen there. It's basically just a big bunch of steel beams about an inch apart. Well, an inch apart doesn't catch much trash. It just pretty well lets it go into the plant.
So what are you looking at putting in there?
They have different types of screens, automatic screens that continuously clean itself. And they'll press the water out of it and they'll dump it in a dumpster, and then we have to empty the dumpster. But it doesn't go into the treatment process. Once it goes into the treatment process, then eventually it ends up in our million-gallon tank where our biosolids are at, and that gets land applied on farmers' fields. Once you put so much trash on a farmer's field, it will no longer take it.
All right.
So we're to the point we need to stop it now.
Good. Okay.
So that's we'll start looking at the options for the screen. The next one will be the installation of materials for Wiener Street manhole. 20,000 looks like a lot for a manhole, but the problem is there's a water line in the way, so there's going to have to be more than just an install done there. And that is a very large source of I&I right now. Next one will be the installation of materials for Triangle Drive sewer main, or North 6th Street. And then the next one will be Triangle Drive. Same type of work and material.
So what's sewer main on North 6th Street?
Across the street, well, down here by the old Elpers and Inman building, it goes up the alley to Market. Goes from Market up the alley.
Would,
You're going up, all the way up to Jefferson?
No, just to the end of the alley.
Oh, okay, just,
You're replacing what's there?
Yes. There's an existing 4-inch line in there now, which is way undersized. And it's an old Orangeburg pipe, and he's tried to stick a camera up it, and it's squished this way, and it's squished this way. And
is that some of the problem that was going on with the?
I think it's a contributing factor. We didn't get any smoke out of that area, but the line definitely needs it. We can't even maintain it at this point. So. Number 5, the wastewater treatment plant equipment, $2,000. It's a small ticket item. It's for a meter at the wastewater plant that'll have to be purchased.
Steve, is 2, 3, and 4, those stuff you got a contract out?
Yes, it'll have to be bid up.
you plan on purchasing this screen? Put that, out of that $12,000
Hold on.
on number 1?
No,
I
that's
didn't think
just-
so, I was just wondering.
That's for,
What would you'd want to purchase it this coming year, wouldn't you, or not?
to purchase that piece of equipment, it could be anywhere up to $100,000 to $200,000.
Really?
So
Wow.
that's something that's going to have to be planned for. That's why the engineering phase starts now.
Oh, so it's gotta be engineered.
Yeah, they're going to have to take the flow of the plant and the debris and everything into consideration.
I'm glad you clarified that. I thought we were getting the screen put in there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to mislead you guys in any way. You cannot buy a screen for $12,000.
Yeah.
Got a self-cleaning screen anyway.
No.
Not so, I was wondering about
You could have
that.
Gary make up one.
Yeah.
You got some screen up there, don't you?
Squeeze it.
Sure,
Okay.
fiberglass.
You probably even got some stainless steel screen, don't you?
No, no stainless.
We need that, right?
Is that the only option, is the automatic? Something.
Yeah, I can't believe it wasn't, I mean, I wasn't here when the plant expansion happened, but it's the kind of thing commonly found on treatment plants for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
No, we just couldn't squeeze that down to ½ inch and then have somebody go out there every day and take that stuff off, or maybe a quarter inch.
Yeah.
Quarter inch maybe?
How do you clean it now? Just
A rake.
manually?
We have a rake
Yeah.
that matches the screen. There's no crossbars in it, so when you put it in there, the rake,
Oh,
and then you just pull all the stuff.
How often do you do that?
so
You
long
gotta do about
stuff,
3 times a day.
that long stuff can drop through, right?
A lot of times, whenever you go to rake it, half the stuff falls through the
Well, that's
screen.
what I was, yeah. I can see that, yeah. I think
Yeah, that's a problem with forestry. Something.
So your familiarity has always been that type of?
No, I worked for a company that built
Oh, wow.
20 treatment plants while I was working there.
Yeah, and they all had
They
those,
always had self-cleaning bar screens.
just like he's talking about, to squeeze it out and throw it in the dumpster?
There's numerous different styles, but they all get the end result the same.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's something we probably need.
Yes.
Maybe Martin can get hooked up with some of them people he used to work with and get you something.
It's the same people he's still working with now. Come out,
All right.
old friends show up down here. I remember you.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All it takes is money, right?
Lots of it.
Lots of it, yeah. That might be something. Can we at least purchase something like that?
Yes, I mean, there's options.
Well, yeah. Bond.
It's pretty maintenance free, or do they break often, or are they?
Well, and that's where you gotta go, you gotta design the bid specs correctly. There are units out there that are not very reliable, and there are some that are very reliable.
That's what we want.
All come with,
Price tag.
yeah. There's units where they put them in and haven't touched them for 10 years, but there's some that,
We got a warranty, but probably not 10 years.
no, I wouldn't think.
So how many yards did they bring you to get out of there? I mean, just as a cubic yard.
The warranty is 6 days or 6 miles, whichever comes first.
Well, just with our rate, we fill about half a dumpster a week.
And you're losing a third or half of it going down in. So you probably need a bigger dumpster to get this thing.
Hopefully. If we can get that stuff out of there, I'll be happy. Get
Oh,
big
I'd
enough.
say, I never even give that a thought, that stuff being, dropping
That would be
in.
very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
How much of that drops through the screen right now?
It just depends on how it's packed on there. If you guys would like to come down the treatment plant sometime, I'll show you.
I've seen it before.
I'd like to see that.
Pretty interesting.
You'd be surprised at the things that end up in the sewer lines.
Oh, man.
Maybe you wouldn't be surprised.
No, I don't think I would.
Yeah. Critters sometimes laying out there.
False teeth,
Huh?
false teeth.
Jewelry?
1 inch.
That's been known to happen.
I know. Well,
Any other questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Thanks, Steve.
hello there.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, you can sit there. Just see what? Oh, this one's the bad
So,
one. Back here.
Oh, the tickets.
what's different about this budget?
Okay, so, the budget that you have in front of you, the top section, salaries and subtotal personnel is exactly what it was last year, because that's, you'll make that call discretionary. The first category with materials and supplies, the overall bottom line is a little bit higher, but I wanted to draw your attention to a couple of changes. One is under printing. I allowed additional expense for printing this year because we will be revising and reprinting our complete visitor's guide, the one that has all the shops. Yeah.
I actually got one from the tourist information when you first get into Missouri.
Yeah.
Anyway, and they had one of the old ones in there. A lot of that stuff is not,
They had an old one in there?
well, there was stuff in there that was not, we don't have anymore.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we'll be redoing that, so I allowed a little extra in the 6,000 line item. I adjusted downward 2 of the line items slightly, just, based on my projections were a little bit high, and so I brought them down a little bit, and those were uniforms and janitorial supplies, not large amounts, but just trying to help, bring it into the most conservative possible. And then the next category, services and repairs. The building line item, I would like to budget for replacing the couches in the Welcome Center. It's been a couple of years, and they have a little wear and tear, and so we want to keep it, looking fresh and nice. So I increased that line item 6810. I brought the travel and lodging down just slightly. I don't think I'll use that whole budget this year. And then at the bottom there, under capital outlay, program grants and so on, the first program grant there, just so that you're aware of it, that is the funds that we apply for through the Muni Grant Program. And so when we have an income line item for that as a grant, we have to have a place to charge it back to, and that's what that goes to. And we use those funds for performance of live music in the historic district, like on Saturdays in the summer, and then sometimes even during some of the festivals. So we try to spread that out as much as we can. And some years we're successful in getting a little bit more, but I always like to at least put a placeholder there for that. Under office equipment, we have an increase there because I'm expecting that we'll probably have to replace a PC or a laptop this year. It's been several years since we have, and so one of them is slowing down quite a bit. And if we don't need it, we won't use it, but just in case, it's good to have it there. And then the co-op grant line item 7168. You can see that one's quite a bit down in the budget from last year's budget, and that is because the state had their grant program cut. They had proposed a certain level of funding and they had it cut, so they've passed that cut on to all of the individual departments of tourism. So we already know that that's going to be less for this year. And those are actually, that $6,000 line item is really only a $3,000 item because we spend $6,000, but $3,000 of it gets reimbursed back. I think so that's all on what we consider, the primary Welcome Center and Tourism budget, those 2 pages. The other budget is for the Tourism Tax Commission funds, income and expenses, but I just wanted to see if anyone had any questions on this one first.
For the sake of discussion, the lodging tax generates revenue, and the Tourism Tax Commission is established under the state statute to be the shepherd of that money, so they get to decide where to spend it. The city's obligation is to see that and account for it. But they coordinate closely with Sandra and the Tourism Advisory Council, so there's only one program, even though there's multiple sources of money. So we really don't have, that's 28,000, it's really theirs to decide what to do with it. We just have to adopt a budget, so we have a place to put the money.
How many employees do you have?
So I have 3 part-time employees and 1 substitute, yeah. Although it was all hands on deck last week.
Oh, I'm sure.
Plus, huh?
A question basically on kind of 3 of the major, not being part of this last year, just coming at the end.
Sure.
Of your expenses and stuff. 1, marketing, 2, grants for tourism, and then tour expenses. What's
Okay.
included in those 3?
Okay, so marketing, that is the marketing program for our, for promoting tourism in St. Genevieve. Although that's not the only place. This is the amount that comes from general revenue, and then we also have other grants that we receive, as well as the funds that are expended through the Tourism Tax Commission, because those have to be dedicated funds to promote tourism. So,
You just answered a question. He said, what is marketing? And you said, it's marketing. I think he wants to know
so that covers,
what activities that
yeah,
covers.
sure. I mean, so that covers the multiple ways that we reach out to the customer, which is, obviously we have print ads, we have some radio, we have online, we do quite a bit of search engine marketing. We also do actual outreach and like media marketing and that kind of thing. So it would be all those things that are considered marketing line items. And then the second one that you asked about, so grants for tourism. So that would be like the funds that we receive from the county to help support tourism, because we promote, our area is promoted as a destination, and we're the designated DMO, which is Destination Marketing Organization. So we promote not only just the historic district, but we also promote destinations across the country.
That's a condition of the state grant, that we must market the county as well as the city.
Wine country, basically.
Gets people to stay overnight, so they don't just do a one-day day trip, they make a longer trip out of it. So those funds go in there, as well as anytime we get exterior grants, that would go in that too. So that's line item 601.
The tour expenses, 7106.
So tour expenses is offset by a line item called tour income. And so when we have a group tour that comes and, they pay for passports, or they pay for, any other expenses while they're here, like a step-on guide, they write a check to the city, the Welcome Center, and then we pay the expenses associated with that. So if it's, a step-on guide, or if it's a tour at one of the historic sites, or if it's, whatever it might be that they have paid for that tour, it goes in as income and comes out as expenses.
So it's a wash.
It's pretty much a wash, yeah.
We got 10 months old of fuel 4. What is your anticipation as far as 12 months?
In which account?
Finish off, well, this is the bottom line here on the total expenditures. Yeah. 10 months is fuel 4, what you want.
Right, I'm gonna say we'll probably finish up right about 235 or so. We'll probably come in a little bit under budget, but not a whole lot. Only because there are some expenses that we didn't have to take on during this year.
But out of that 235 though, is there a percentage of that we recover roughly, or?
Oh, yes, and so part of that is like the grants for tourism. Obviously, we have an expenditure line item here, but there's also an income line item associated with that.
Right, it just doesn't show that.
Right. And so the other income line items would be the tour income, grants for tourism, and, and we also sell items at the Welcome Center, like little souvenirs and things like that.
Right.
So those are income line items that help offset it. If I had to say a percentage, I'm going to say maybe that's, I can get you a specific percentage. I don't want to just pull a number out of thin air.
I mean, your tour revenue and your sales is like right at 30,000 that you would cover, and then the rest is your grant, which is a wash.
In the sales, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in the tour, right. So, 50, maybe 80-20, in that range.
Because that's just a little shock looking down and seeing the quarter we made on the budget. $8. And it's, how do you put that into reality? What's the payback? What's, That's the big question.
Right. So there is a figure for every dollar that's spent in a community on tourism, it brings back X amount back into the community. I think that I remember the last time I read that statistic, it's like for every dollar, there's $1.32 or something like that that comes back into the community in terms of, food and lodging and gas and things like that.
And tourists don't make demand on public infrastructure, so you don't have to have a classroom, as an example, because tourists are here. They don't generally commit crimes in proportion to the general population. So tourism dollars are considered, in that respect, you yield more from a tourism dollar than you do from a citizen who's making those demands on your system.
It's also new dollars in the community when a tourist comes in. If I'm buying something from you and you're buying something from him, we're just trading dollars in the community. Nobody's bringing new dollars into the community. Tourism is one way to bring new dollars into the community that weren't there before. So they're shopping in the shops, they're eating in the restaurants, they're staying overnight in the B&Bs and the hotels, and that's a new dollar in your economy. So it trickles down, or throughout the economy from there.
Well, maybe we've talked about this before, but how screwy would it be accounting-wise to end up taking, this is general revenue and the income is general revenue. If you took the general revenue items that pertains specifically to general revenue income items that pertain specifically to an account and put them in that account. Like Bob was asking, you're not seeing any revenue on her budget.
Well, I found the same thing.
That's because it's all here.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all in the big.
It's all in the big,
It's just a
okay.
separate line item
Right,
on the end of your budget would be helpful to see how much you're recuperating.
Well, there's a separate
Well,
line item in the city budget for the revenue if you want to.
The question, I think, in terms of the return, would be how many general sales tax dollars would you not have if there were no tourists?
Pretty much.
I mean, it's not how much revenue she makes, either through a grant or sales or whatever. The idea is that you attract tourism to your community. They spend top dollars. That creates general tax revenue that otherwise might not be there.
I agree with that, but I also agree with Bob. It would be nice if you could, and like you were saying, if you could see it on one sheet, maybe
Right,
help us
just a separate
decipher it a
line
little
item
better.
right here is
That's
a-
all.
In simple business terms, a return on investment.
I know,
That's what you're,
yeah.
But again, we can do that. I don't think that's a major issue. It's just
Right.
it's gonna be $40,000.
right.
And the question.
Those are just the cash offsets,
Right.
like you're saying. this is
Right.
sales.
Oh my. What happened? Nothing, I'm good.
Continue. Carry on.
He's just checking to see if you're awake.
Interesting. Mine wouldn't be there.
So that was
Did that, didn't
the,
you switched chairs before you sat down?
You did.
that was the two-page budget for tourism and a welcome center. And then, as Martin said, page 25 for your budget is the revenue and expenses for the sales tax that's generated by the overnight lodging tax in the city limits. It's a separate page, and it all fits on one page. It's got the tax, interest, total revenue.
Bottom to 26.
25.
Mine was even better. One of these,
It came right after your,
what's this one, was it?
Oh,
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah. Mine was, I couldn't find mine, but
This chair scared me so much, I must have misplaced it.
So these line items and expenses are determined by the Tourism Tax Commission members. And they just voted on this last week, I guess.
So then, they are a separate entity, but yet it all falls into your, this is like, in addition to your.
Yeah, so
thing?
I report on it, and I attend their meetings, and I give them information and track projects that they have endorsed.
Okay.
So like this helps pay for instance, our search engine marketing program. It helps pay for the billboards on the interstate. We also have rack cards that are distributed through a rack card distribution company, and they go to all the hotels up and down Interstate 55, and yeah, anything in a certain
that
corridor.
welcome center that I talked about it.
Well, that's a
Rest area.
separate, yeah, that's a separate program down there. This one only
But it's
covers
the
a
same
certain.
brochure.
Same brochure,
That's what
yeah.
I was saying, that's the one that needed update. Is that the one you're talking about getting updated?
Sorry, that's actually, there's a rack card that's
Yeah.
just one page front and back.
Oh,
That one's pretty new. Probably the one that you saw was the fold
Yeah,
out
fold out.
that we're gonna update,
yeah, that's the one that needs to be updated.
yeah.
So then the funding for this comes from.
Bed taxes,
Bed
so if
tax.
somebody
That's
spends
what
a night in a
okay.
hotel
Right,
or a
that little
B&B.
piece of the pie goes to feed this.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a 2% of their
Right.
lodging revenue. It also is our Airbnb or, those categories,
Mhm.
they're contributing to it too if they're inside city limits.
Okay.
How do we get that money, that 2%?
Martin, would you like to
How
explain?
do we
that?
get it?
Yeah.
They pay it to us
Well, I know-
directly.
Okay.
It doesn't have to go through the state.
That's what I was getting.
So it's a check they write to the city based on their
Based on their-
proceeds,
Yes.
or on their income.
And they can do it either monthly or quarterly.
What? Okay.
And everybody,
And, it's
everybody pays it, right?
Well, it's a self-reporting kind of thing, but we don't have any delinquencies now that we're aware of.
That's why I was wondering, I thought that was direct pay.
Okay.
And that really helps because those additional large projects like that, obviously we couldn't do something like that out of the, $35,000 that we've got in the general account. We don't have much, but we make it stretch a long way. If you'd like, I can send an email that would have that portion that you were talking about, like we can figure out those revenues and take them out of this budget and then figure out what that proportion is.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
We've got 15 minutes to cover some of those other things that we talked about. So you want to, what do you want to do?
Where do you want to start at?
What's next on your stack of papers?
Let's go with special.
General fund?
General, yeah.
Okay?
You want to go with the small ones, get those done, like this
Yeah,
special
you
roads
might-
stuff?
Yeah, that might be better.
Yeah.
Pass the general fund.
The legislative, this covers the court system. I mean, that's not. The, covers your expenses.
Yeah.
Now, before I go through every line item, what has gone up?
The,
We're only at 5,000 for the recycling center.
the energy loan principal payment is up because it's a full year. That's the only real adjustment. And
And Joe, the recycling center payment is in September, the next one.
Was that quarterly or what?
March and September.
Oh,
so we
And
kept,
it's 5,000, and then they have like 2,000 if they buy equipment or repair equipment or something down there. And so far this year, they haven't requested that.
well, we're responsible for repairs on the forklift, and they just bought a new forklift last year, so we don't expect to see many repairs until it's had to cut some more hours on it.
So that'll be 5,000 more, probably a little bit more than 5,000 more. So we'll do that, for the recycling.
Just 5,000 more this year.
And how is that, I'm new, so pardon me, all my questions. But, you know, I look at the past years and the amount spent, and it's been 255, 232, 236.
What line item you looking?
I'm looking at total expenditures at the
Oh,
very bottom.
okay.
We've, going back to 14, 15, 16, we spent 255, 232, 236. It was budgeted for this year for 148 and for 155. Why, how can we budget for so much lower than what the past annual expenditures have traditionally been?
Since the TIF closed out, we do not have to capture and pay like sales tax and property tax into the TIF, and that was a big chunk.
That, oh, I see it up here, that the 95 and the 77
Yeah.
and the 77. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Any other questions?
No, it's not much. How you handling the downtown trip? Okay, so you're not taking it out each account? So you're
Yeah,
not doing-
we are, but it hasn't met the base, so,
Doesn't it?
yeah.
Now,
Sales tax on that?
no, but individuals have, so they're getting their credits.
Correct, got it,
Yeah.
got it, okay.
Businesses, when the businesses pay it?
Document 7110.
LD benefits.
Speak.
7110.
Pardon me?
The levy district tax.
Yeah. It's the levy, we have to pay taxes to the levy district?
Everybody does, right?
Yeah.
Because they protect us.
Even the people on the hill.
I give a little bit myself.
Here's Jeremy.
I'm in the lowest spot.
Yeah, but you got a nice little fence out there.
It's very decorative. Not tall, but I look at my fencing.
All right, so, the administrative department will be the last one tonight. That's us. Huh? It's the city hall budget, this facility, and, it hasn't changed at all. We just kept it the same.
good.
Although, should you decide to do any capital improvements, we'll have to amend it. This is where it would be adjusted. Right?
And
If you transfer out of the capital improvement fund, we'll do it in the police budget. Okay?
yeah, or both.
So,
However it
yeah,
works.
whatever.
Where did that, you've seen all the line items on here, reminded me, where did was it the $5,000 that was in this budget for the wayfinding signs that, don't know whether that's gonna happen in this budget or not?
No, they've been ordered, it's gonna,
They have been ordered?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Somebody told me that the posts were here. Is that true? That the city had them?
not unless Gary took them.
No.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. So, unless you want to change something.
We'll have to talk about raises later.
That's at the end.
You're right.
Okay. Take a break.